For 6 months, Ukraine has held Russia's war machine at bay, but the nation's resistance has cost its people dearly. Ukrainian MP Sviatoslav Yurash lost his close friend Alexandra early on.
She died in the beginning of March near Kiev. She was, the car that she was in was shelled by the Russian artillery, and she basically was a victim of that. It is definitive for myself and for others that this war does not end in any kind of stalemate or any kind of loss, because again, they did not die in vain.
Sviatoslav Yurash is now serving as an infantryman in Ukraine's 133rd Battalion.
The fact that you fight it, to understand that with your actions you are pushing back this onslaught directly, not subjectively by a vote of this kind or the other, but you are essentially a small part of a great national body that is establishing itself and is certainly defeating and beating back that country which imagines that we aren't existent.
There are no official figures on military losses. Ukrainian authorities say they're losing up to 200 soldiers a day, which could put the total number of dead or wounded as high as 36,000. Russia's losses are estimated to be double or triple those of Ukraine.
The Russians are taking a tremendous number of casualties. I think it's safe to suggest that the Russians have probably taken 70 or 80,000 casualties in less than 6 months.
Back in February, Russia, with the world's second largest military, had expected to overrun Ukraine's defences and conquer its capital within days, only to be repelled in a humiliating and costly withdrawal.
The entire phase one, according to the Russians, was a complete failure. They had to regroup, essentially retreat and refocus on the east because they simply couldn't achieve their strategic aims.
For weeks, the areas of control have remained largely static until the Ukrainians began using American-donated long-range missile systems.
What we are seeing is the Ukrainians using these HIMARS systems, these long-range, precision-guided munitions that can shoot and move very quickly and are very hard to interdict, really using those to high effect against Russian command and control nodes, against their logistics, against high-speed avenues of approach like bridges. And this is really having a very detrimental impact on Russia's ability to carry out operations.
These operations show them that actually they cannot feel safe. You don't have fuel, you don't have ammunition, we don't have weapons or transport. That's obviously destroys your plans. So then Russians start to panic and they don't know what to do. And so, yeah, so that stops them from even attempting to advance. And that's what we're doing right now.
Andrei Zagorodnyuk is Ukraine's former defence minister who's still involved with the war effort. He says Russia's military occupation of the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant shows their desperation.
So right now they're using it essentially as a hostage in order to push Ukraine for negotiations or whatever else. That's a new innovative way how to threaten with a nuclear disaster, by aggressor. So obviously concerning, but we keep on doing our job.
President Zelensky publicly committed his forces to retake the major port city of Kherson. Behind the scenes, Ukrainian officials admit they're under pressure to prove to Western allies that they can win this war.
The chances are against the Ukrainians of being able to push Russian forces entirely out of Ukraine and Crimea. It's still very hard. I mean, Russia still has the ability to generate a lot of combat power, right? They haven't declared a national mobilization. And if you're talking about years, that kind of national mobilization can make a difference.
After months of combat, Ukraine has become dependent on the huge influx of weapons from Western allies. But not all promised military hardware has been delivered.
I would suggest that they provide us the weapons which we've been discussing, because there is an operational plan which requires certain weapons, and Western community still hasn't provided this yet. So it's a bit unfair to expect us to finish the war as soon, like urgently, quickly, but at the same time still delaying provision of the items which we've been discussing with them.
With no end to the conflict in sight, millions of Ukrainians remain refugees. President Zelensky has declared he's not interested in a peace deal that concedes any area already controlled by Russia.
We must all be strong enough to resist any enemy provocations and go all the way to Ukrainian victory.
Tomorrow also marks Ukraine's independence from Soviet rule. 3 decades on, there's little mood to celebrate.
The fact that we have protected our capital, that we have beat them back from the northern part of Ukraine is evidence that we can win and we shall win.
It's going to be another day because it's 6 months of war, a brutal war where we have lots of work. So yeah, we'll congratulate our friends, families, etc. But we don't have time right now for fun. I mean, we need to work. We need to win the war.